Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming at you to review the movie by the name of It Comes at Night. This is a movie that intrigued me from the very first time I saw the poster back whenever, it came out, or before, just shortly before it came out. Did it come out in, I don't even remember now, was it 2016 or 2017? One of those years I think this movie came out. It might have been 17. And the poster, which I'm not going to show you just in case, this is a newer movie, just in case they want to flag the video for copyright BS. I'm not going to show a poster or any images, just feel free to look up the poster. It Comes at Night. It's just like really just dark and woodsy, I think, and it's got like It Comes at Night, and then the dog and the bottom is like facing, with his head, back of his head to us. He's, facing out towards the dark of the night. I was just like, wow, that's a really, really cool, simple poster. I bet I would love this movie just based on the poster. And I think at some point, I saw the trailer. I don't remember. I must have saw the trailer, and I was just like, oh, wow, the poster is great. The trailer looks great. This is something I wouldn't end up seeing until I ended up seeing it on, like, Amazon Prime streaming for free. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I love it. So I bought the Blu-ray for $10, and meant to review this a lot sooner than I'm reviewing it, but I'm reviewing it now, so yay. I do want to say that this movie, having rewatched it, just recently, it's like, I don't know, it's extremely depressing. It's one of these rare instances where I think the movie is incredibly, incredibly well conceived and executed, but at the same time, it's not a movie that, this is probably why I haven't reviewed it yet, because it's not a movie that you really want to watch very often unless you're like too happy or too, unless you're in an overly joyous state of mind and you need to come back to normality. You can put this in, and then it'll instantly in 90 minutes, or well, probably, yeah, it starts before, it starts immediately when the movie starts. The kind of the slump into depression, or maybe not depression, but just humdrumness. So I will say that it's a fantastic movie, but extremely, extremely depressing. It's one of these movies, and I love the movie as a whole, but I will say that it's one of these like virus movies, where it's just like the virus is the antagonist, and so many times as of late, past couple years, I've been just doing, just saying pretty much everything that happens in the movies that I review, and this review is going to be a little different in case you haven't seen it. I really feel like I don't want to, ruin it for you in case you, decide to go see it after watching the review, or if you haven't seen it yet and someday down the line see it. I don't want to ruin the movie for you. So this is going to be a different review in the sense that I'm just going to give a kind of an overview instead of say exactly what happens. The only thing I'll pretty much say that happens is just to give you an idea of the feel of the movie. Is it's a virus movie. The antagonist in this movie is basically a virus, and the movie starts, and right off the bat it starts and shows you the kind of tone this whole movie is going to have, in which a character's the main character's dad is, the wife character's dad is all sick, and he's just sitting there and like, and they just wheel him into a wheelbarrow, and they wheel him outside next to his grave, and she says their goodbyes, they say their goodbyes, and well, actually she doesn't do it. She stays in the house, and she makes her son, which is kind of stupid. She regrets it later on. She makes her son and the husband character wheel her dad out there in the wheelbarrow to plop him next to the grave and basically shoot him in the head, and then start the body on fire. What's so funny about movies like this where they douse them with gasoline and set them on fire is I don't understand what they actually expect to happen. Like dousing a body with gas and setting it on fire is not going to burn the body up to nothing but ashes. It's kind of like if you heard about that story on the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre where someone had a big pile of, the corpses of animal corpses after the movie was done or something, or I don't even know if it was, yeah, I don't know. They had all these animal corpses, and they went around the side of the house and piled all the animal corpses up and lit it, dumped gas on it, lit it on fire, and all they did is just burn the fur, So when you see that in a movie, I just go, yeah, well, it's not going to burn the body up. It might just, burn a little bit of the skin or some of the skin off, and then it'll just be a, burnt burnt body. So when I see that in movies, I just think of that story from on the set of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But you know, obviously right off the bat the movie, you know, sets the tone, or, you know, tells the viewer the kind of tone this whole movie, you know, what the whole movie is going to have for the whole 90 minutes of the movie. And I will say, you know, so many movies, you know, pushing 2 hours and over 2 hours these days and stuff, I do appreciate that the movie's basically more or less just like 90 minutes. That's really actually kind of refreshing in this era of 2 hour, you know, 2.5 hour, you know, plus movies and all that kind of stuff. So I did appreciate that. One of the things I love about the movie is the way it looks. Obviously being shot digital, they're able to shoot in really, really low light situations. And a lot of the, you know, the interiors, nighttime, even possibly daytime, but a lot of the nighttime, well, all of the nighttime interiors are basically, from what I can see, more or less lit by these, you know, battery-powered or rechargeable battery-powered lanterns that they carry around the house. And I absolutely, you know, being shot digital, I absolutely love just actually lighting these scenes, you know, with the lights that the characters are carrying around through the darkened interior of the house that they have all boarded up and kind of Night of the Living Deadish and stuff like that as their kind of bunker or whatever against the evil virus or, you know, living things that might be carrying the virus that lurk outside the, you know, the walls of the house or whatever. This for me is probably one of the best looking digitally shot movies that I can ever remember seeing. Obviously a lot of it has to do with, you know, the color grading and digital color grading or color timing, whatever they do after they shoot it or whatever. But you know, the finished product of this movie, I think is when I first saw it, I was like, oh my god, this is like, might be one of the first digitally shot movies that I absolutely, you know, absolutely really just love how it looks. And, you know, obviously still, you know, still liking film for the, you know, the ultimate movie, you know, experience. I do think that this is, wow, this is like enough to convince me that, you know, well, at least digital can be done in a way that is, you know, pleasing to the eye, or at least my eye. I mean, you know, as I said, the interior night scenes lit by just lanterns that characters carry around, or even the exterior, I mean, exterior night's awesome when characters have lanterns or, you know, lights that are on their rifles and stuff. Lighting up the woods with, you know, just the lights they have and stuff, and, you know, as they walk into the dark expanse of the, you know, the few scenes that take place outdoors at night is really great. And even the day exteriors, I mean, they just look, you know, the color looks natural, it just looks real life, it's just absolutely, you know, one of the, as I said, one of the best looking digitally shot movies that I can ever remember having seen. You know, one thing without spoiling it too much that I will say about the movie is the, you know, the main characters, you know, like presumably, well, we'll just say dad and mom have this teenage son, and this guy has, like, throughout the course of the movie has these nightmares. And one thing that I noticed when I was watching this movie for the first time is that this is shot in, you know, the 2:3:5 or whatever, the wide aspect ratio. One thing that I noticed, and a lot of people might not notice, is throughout the movie, and from what I saw last time I rewatched it, as it seems to happen, it happens, you know, in this teenage son's, you know, dreams, or, you know, this nightmares this kid has, and then it happens at the end of the movie as well during the harrowing, you know, events and stuff. As the already really, you know, wide frame, they'll squash it top to bottom to make it even more wide. And what I would imagine in a way to, like, subconsciously make the scenes more, you know, claustrophobic, or somehow subconscious, you know, an attempt to subconsciously affect the viewer even, you know, more, maybe in a negative, you know, manner. You know, they're already negatively affected because they're watching this movie, but maybe it's, you know, by squashing that wide frame even, you know, thinner, maybe it has even an extra negative effect, you know, subconscious effect on the viewer. But that's something that I thought was kind of interesting. Something I don't think I've ever remember seeing before, where you got a frame that's already, in my opinion, too wide. I like 1:8:5 ratio more, and then you're just like even squashing it more, and it's just like, wow, it's just like, okay. But that's something that is worth noting that this movie does in a kind of subliminal, you know, little, you know, very subliminal detail that the movie does, which is kind of interesting. So let me just mention one more technical thing that I love about this movie is, unlike movies so much nowadays where it's just like cut, 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 and just like fast cutting and all this crap, it really gets tiring to see. This movie is, so many technical ways about this movie I absolutely love. Obviously, I've already touched on just the look of the movie, and also what I really love about it is it's just long extended takes. The camera in an era of filmmaking where there's just like moving camera, sporadic moving camera, sporadic quick cutting. This movie is a beautifully wonderful breath of fresh air, and just like having static shots with characters interacting within them. Just long takes that just let the characters and the scenes breathe without all this kind of sporadic cutting. And I will say the longer takes and the movie is really kind of slow moving by today's standards, and the slow moving nature of the movie and just the real time speed of the movie and the long extended takes really add to the movie, and add to the movie's kind of unease or suspensefulness. Well, that's another thing I want to say about this movie. From the time it starts till the time it ends, you're basically, or I was anyway as a viewer, just pretty much really just tense throughout the entire thing, even during that little brief scene where the family comes to live with them, and it's just like, oh, Fantasy Island and things are going well or whatever. You're still like, well, that's all fine and dandy now, but what's to come or whatever, it's all going to hit the fan later on. But that's also another thing about its technical aspect of the movie that I want to comment on. Just really unrushed, just taking its time with scenes and also just long takes, and really great use of camera and editing. Not only does the movie look great, it just the use of camera and editing I thought I was really impressed with in this era of, as I said, mostly just shoot whatever and cut it later and figure out how it's going to be later in the editing room with sporadic ADD induced crazy editing. So without spoiling too much about the movie, I will simply say, as I already said, it's about just, this kind of virus thing. In the beginning of the movie, obviously, they had to put down, Grandpa because he had the virus, and the movie's all about just, these people barricading themselves in the house, keeping, trying to live their life and be protected against the virus. I mean, we don't really see much outside their house or the woods. It's presumably something that's just happening all over the country or the world or whatever. We never go into that. It's not like we hear radio broadcasts or anything like that. And that's one thing I actually like about the movie, is that the audience is experiencing exactly what the characters are, in the sense that the characters don't know what's going on outside really the woods area that they live in, and they're just trying to just live day to day and just not be overcome with the virus or whatever. What ends up happening is they end up taking in a family, a young, young man and woman, and their very young boy, and obviously it's just the main family's apprehensive about it, and it's just one of the many things that adds to the stress, or the whatever you want to call it. Just hold on, there's a plane. The unease, the whole movie's got this unease that goes all over it, and of course the main dad of the main family is, suspicious of the guy at first. They kind of take the family in. Even when things are going good, you're fully aware that these people can't be trusted. No one can be trusted. And as I said, the whole movie's got this. It's kind of exhausting to watch, even if it's only 90 minutes, just because it's got this. As I said, for me as a viewer, the whole thing has just got this, whatever you want to call it, just unease over it. It's as I said, this is probably why I don't watch it very often, because it's got this, it's exhausting to watch, basically. So they take this family in, and they kind of get settled in, and things go well, and all the time, just with this, unease going, above everything, lingering above the situations at all time. I will say that not a lot of movies these days, or and in general at all, but especially these days, can actually get to me. And then this one does. I will give it that this one actually does manage to affect me. And whether that's, I don't know, I guess that's the movie achieving what it set out to do, I guess. So good for the movie. So I think that'll pretty much be my review. I can't really say much more without starting to delve into things that happen in the movie. I don't want to do that in case you haven't seen it and want to see it at sometime at a later date. I don't want to spoil it. All I will say in closing is that unlike many movies, or unlike most movies these days, this movie did have an effect on me, and I found it many of the scenes that dark and characters creeping around and loud sounds of banging and all this and that. You know, there's many scenes in the movie that genuinely creep me out, and just like, this is the kind of thing, incidentally, that kind of creeps me out. You know, like when I was a teenager and I first saw Terror Train, you know, things about just dark corridors, dark interiors, dark exteriors, just whatever, and creepy music. Not that this movie really has creepy music, but it's got that, you know, with the dark interiors and walking around with flash, you know, the flashlight on the rifle kind of a thing and stuff, and only lighting the scenes with the lights that the characters carry and stuff. It ends up producing an atmosphere that for me is actually, you know, genuinely creepy, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And obviously the events that transpire throughout the movie, you know, just it's just a really well done movie. And you know, the only thing I don't really like about it is the whole virus aspect. But unlike so many of other virus movies, we're not plagued that much with seeing characters, you know, with bubbling skin, and you know, we get a little of that bubbling skin, puking black stuff, and when I see that, you know, that doesn't happen that often. When you see that in the movie, it's just like, yeah, whatever. On the whole, this movie is just, I can't really stress it enough, fantastically conceived and executed, even if it is a kind of a virus movie. But it is one of the definitely, you know, the virus movie with the most downplayed virus aspect of it. It's not really about that. What really shines is just, I mean, the acting and the writing, and just like as I said, the whole movie from pretty much start to finish is just like tense and suspense, and oh my gosh, you know, are they infected? Are they going to get infected? Is this going to be infected? You know, it's just like, am I going to get infected watching the movie? So I will go 3.5 stars out of 4 stars for It Comes at Night. I think it's an absolutely fantastically, you know, creepy, just suspenseful, tense, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not really a horror movie, but just maybe thriller. You know, that's just one of these strange movies that's like a really high star rating for me, but at the same time, you know, it's weird because it's not exactly an enjoyable movie to watch. I mean, the way it ends, without spoiling any of it, is just like, you know, it's satisfying in a weird way, and I guess you kind of knew it was going to end in this kind of a way, and it's just like, it kind of really goes there without spoiling too much. The movie really goes there at the end, and it's just, I don't know, it's almost hard for me to recommend this movie because of the way it makes you feel when it's over. You just like, you're just kind of, you know, bummed out, and you know, I don't know, to pay money to get bummed out is just kind of stupid. So I don't know, you know, how often I'll be watching this movie. As I said, I own the Blu-ray and stuff, but holy Toledo, it's just like pretty depressing. So, you know, maybe I'd recommend it for a one-time watch or something like that. Maybe it's not something you really need to add to your collection, because, I mean, let's face it, how often are we going to really want to see this kind of a depressing movie or whatever? But feel free to let me know in the comments if you've seen this movie, what you thought of it. As I said, it is one of the, you know, better kind of more recent thriller / suspense movies that I've seen. Definitely something that, as I said, is kind of recommended and kind of not. I mean, if like I said, if your life is too great and you need, you know, you could use a little being brought down from your high euphoria state or whatever, this movie might do it for you. So thank you very much for watching my review, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.